We do have Mohammed Basah. He is a public affairs analyst who will be joining us now to discuss the nationwide deplorable security situation and possible ways out of it. Good afternoon and welcome to Newsday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
It's an unfortunate situation to continue to talk about the escalating insecurity in the country. But given the recent surge of killings in Plateau State and Benue State as well, does this suggest that there is a great failure to our security architecture? It also seems that there are some key drivers that are making this situation escalate. If you're aware of any, could you discuss some of that with us? And also your opinions as to why there have been back-to-back killings in this period?
Well, first off, I'd like to extend my condolences to those who have lost people in this unfortunate and avoidable crisis. Clearly, it's a reflection of the quality of leadership that has been tasked with handling security, specifically in the defense aspect. We have a Minister of Defense who seems to be disconnected from the troops, who is not speaking the language that the military understands. With all due respect to him, he has been a former governor, he has also been a businessman, but he has not made efforts to be able to really connect with the security agencies, and it's showing in terms of the lack of coordination, because in the last couple of weeks we have heard about these issues escalating. The people who perpetrate some of these things have become even more emboldened due to the seeming lack of leadership. And also at the community level as well, we've not seen the minister coming in to express, to try to understand what the issues are, to try to understand the situation of the people, and also convey the feelings of the president on this matter directly to the people, while also taking back feedback to the president as part of his supposed regular briefings to the president. So clearly, there's a lack of coordination, and that rests directly on the table of the defense minister at the moment.
But then I'm wondering, how do issues like poverty, unemployment, inequality, contribute to these security challenges, and what can be done to actually address all these issues?
Yes, when we talk about poverty, we are at a point where it's now a chicken and egg situation, because these things have escalated to full-blown violence. So it's no longer just a case of preventive measures, but it's now at a curative stage where we need to just try and cure the situation before we now go back to say whether there was poverty or whatsoever. But yes, poverty does play a very, very large role in all of this, because over the years we had a lot of issues of cattle rustling, we had a lot of issues of climate change that affects people's livelihood and lives. So yes, poverty does play a part in this, that it creates fertile ground for this crisis to escalate, for all kinds of characters to come in and try to exploit the conditions of people in some of these areas.
And we do know, maybe not in these last particular killings, but with some killings that happen within Nigeria, there are retaliatory attacks. So it's a back and forth, a tit for tat situation in which grievances obviously are deep-seated and continue to escalate and fester. What role can traditional or religious leaders play in trying to mitigate some of the bad blood that is created when these things happen, if there is any role for them to play at all?
Yes, their role is to de-escalate. Their role is to, in terms of their communications and their engagement with their faithfuls and their followers, to tone down some of the language. Yes, a lot of them are involved in these issues. Many of them are even affected but ultimately we must look at the sustainable development of the society. So they need to tone down some of the language with which some of these issues have been expressed, some of the grievances, the way they have been portrayed. These things, words are very, very powerful. So the way they communicate, the way they engage with whether government institutions, even in the media, the way these issues are being presented need to be toned down so that we can at least have some level of clarity for the security agencies to do their part and for other stakeholders and responsible parties to come in and actually resolve these issues sustainably and amicably. So yes, the traditional rulers and the religious leaders have a role to play, and their role is quite critical because they have a say in terms of how the people involved react, and they also have a say in terms of how the authorities as well perceive these issues and try to handle them accordingly.
But in the meantime, I'm wondering how our security agencies can be reformed and strengthened to effectively respond to emerging threats and also protect, citizens.
Yes, I think across board, there needs to be better leadership in terms of coordination, because our troops have never left us in any doubt as to their capacity and their capability when the right environment is created. So we need better leadership within that sector. For example, I did make mention of the Minister of Defense and his role as a leader, because a lot of the time our troops get all the flack, the president gets the flack, but there are people who have been appointed to handle specific aspects of governance on behalf of the people and the president whom they have been elected. There are people who are appointed to handle some of these areas. So there's a need for us to coordinate more, to have better coordination, and also to be able to establish better civil-military relations so that there is information sharing. For example, the military or the security agencies could give communities intelligence that they can act on, while the communities also can give the authorities too information too that they can also act on. Because at the moment, there is a gap. There's a trust gap, and there's a communications gap that needs to be filled. So with better coordination, I'm sure we would have better results and we'll have fewer of these incidences that we're seeing, which seem to have degenerated to the point where perpetrators have become so brazen in their ownership of whatever it is that is going on in these theaters of crisis.
And the response by the government, in your opinion, is it strong enough from the federal government and from the state governors? We do know that in Plateau State there was a conference that the governor held in which he discussed banning motorcycle movement and night grazing, putting up curfews in order to try in his own way to curb the movements of some of these non-state actors. But there's also the fear that this will greatly hamper the socio-economic structure that is so delicate within Plateau State at the moment. How do, in your opinion, how do governors or other leaders balance that, trying to fish out these non-state actors versus keeping their state seemingly normal and having business activities continue?
Well, every aspect of life rises and falls on the security situation. So if the security situation is where it is at the moment, then I don't think it's out of place that the governor has had to impose certain measures which may seem to be extreme to certain persons, but the governor just has to do something, and he's doing something. So until such a time when the security situation improves, unfortunately, it is what it is. People will just have to find a way to adjust to the situations, and while we hope that those who are responsible would do their part to ensure that this doesn't take longer than is necessary, because it's almost seeming like it's a full-blown war that is ongoing at the moment.
Now, earlier you talked about information sharing, but it seems there is a certain lack of trust between Nigerians and security officials. So how can trust be built between security agencies and local communities, particularly in areas that are affected by conflict and violence?
Yes. Across the country, there's a need for greater synergy. There's a need for more. The government presence has to be felt more strongly. So we need senior level members of the federal cabinet coming to these areas where there are these crises and engaging the people in sort of a town hall setting where they're hearing directly from the people, they're hearing what the issues are, they're hearing what it is that is driving these issues in a transparent manner, in an open manner, and they're also reporting back to the president, getting directives to ensure that the concerns that these people are expressing are being addressed. Because the minute the people see that their concerns are being addressed, then they would in turn begin to work more closely with government, because they would come to a psychological understanding of the fact that government is on their side, and so they would work more closely with the government. But a situation where there is practically no government presence, these people just come in, commit all kinds of crimes against humanity, they leave, destroy lives, destroy livelihoods, destroy properties, and then no government presence, it would feed into that sentiment that is already on the ground that the government doesn't care, which may not be the case, because in fairness to our troops, they are actually overstretched and they cannot be everywhere every time. But whichever way it is, the government has to send senior level cabinet members to engage with the citizens so that the citizens will feel that the government feels their pain, the government cares about them. But the situation where we are in Abuja, we are releasing press statements, we are addressing the media from Abuja, it will not cut it with the citizens. And this situation has degenerated to a very, very serious emergency that requires more than just expressing condolences in the media. The government has to be on the ground. The people have to see that it's not just military men that are coming, but they're also seeing senior level members of the government coming on ground to discuss with them what the issues are, proffering solutions, taking their feedback, taking their concerns on board. And once the people see that this is happening, they would also fall in line and work more closely with the government.
Well, very well said.
The current situation gives us...
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, Mohammed Basah, Public Affairs Analyst. Very important conversation. Thank you for joining us.